Scam story meets words of wisdom from a self-proclaimed recovering girl boss. That's what's on the docket today. Before anyone mentions it in the comments, let me just say Mandolin 1, Danielle 0. Okay, let's go ahead and get right into the story. Hello, Danielle. I just came across your channel because I started desperately searching for business coach scams to try and make sense of what happened to me recently. I don't know if it's appropriate to go into a bunch of details now, but just to quickly sum it up, here was my experience. Earlier this year, I was on a Smart Connect meeting on Alignable and was randomly selected to be introduced to a business and pitching coach. We exchanged contact info and he reached out to me afterwards. As an aside, for those of you that aren't familiar, Alignable is essentially a website where small business owners can network with one another. So it's kind of similar to LinkedIn, except it's literally for B2B, so businesses to connect with other businesses. And according to their website, Smart Connect is the alignable way for business networking. Smart refers to our technology being able to bring together the right people based on who you might want to meet with and providing you with an easy way to stay connected after the meeting. Connect refers to the networking happening inside the meeting that could lead to further connection once the event is over. So I just wanted to provide a little bit more context to the story, and I hope that helps. She continues. Long story short, he talked me into signing up for a $7,500 3-month-long coaching service for my small business. I own a small web design agency that is my passion, my pride, and something I built over 8 years. To this day, I can't tell you why I went for this offer. There was something about him that made me feel like I could trust what he was saying. He delivered on what he sold me initially. We worked well together and he helped me work on my pitch, which, by the way, hasn't helped my business at all, not to mention that the pitch is long-winded and unoriginal. After 2.5 months of meetings, working on some business processes, etc., he introduced me to a lead generation software that he wanted me to pay him for. I did, and I'm embarrassed to say that I sent him another $14,000 for ongoing coaching and access to the software. Turns out he didn't even have the right to be selling me access to the software. The company reached out and told me that this was illegal.
What?
Not only that, I didn't get a single new client from this whole deal. This was the beginning of 2 months of my coach giving me nothing but terrible and untested advice. My business went from being profitable every single month to barely scraping by. My expenses skyrocketed and he has nothing to say, but yeah, we'll get there. He instructed me to invest in advertising methods that he hasn't even tried before, sent me affiliate links to products that he likes, and for me to buy, the list goes on. I finally opened up to my husband and he helped me get out of this terrible situation. I asked for a refund and all I got back for the first bit was crickets. I had to file a claim with my credit card company in an effort to retrieve some of my money back. The situation is still ongoing. I feel defeated, embarrassed, and in total disbelief that I fell for this. And the crazy thing is, for some reason, I feel guilty and question my whole experience. I still sometimes think that
maybe I just didn't see all his good intentions for what it was, and maybe he actually truly dedicated to my success.
So here I am, almost $20,000 less in my bank account, which is about 1/4 of my annual revenue at this time. I have no idea what I'm going to do if I don't receive my refund. Where I truly feel gaslighted is that my former coach told me, after I asked for a refund, that there
was a miscommunication and I just didn't understand what his intentions were.
Sad situation, and I hope this saves another person, especially a mom with 2 young kids, from making the same mistake. Wow, wow, wow. Yet another story that checks off so many of the red flags that we talk about time and time again here on my channel. The predatory tactics, the large promises with lack of delivery or follow through, the lack of accountability, the gaslighting. Honestly, I could go on and on. First of all, I am so sorry to the individual who submitted this story. This sounds incredibly stressful, and unfortunately, I think that it's just sadly not a unique situation that you found yourself in. You know, let's actually talk about this for a minute because I think I've mentioned it in other videos, but it's a really important conversation. So in this submission, she mentions things like feeling defeat and embarrassment for, falling for this coach's promises. And I have a few thoughts on this. So if you've been here a while, you've probably watched this video here where I explain how back in 2018, I got scammed by a business coach. And I believe I mentioned in that video, and if not in that video, many other videos, how I experienced a lot of shame and a lot of guilt around the concept of having spent so much money on coaching. For a number of years, I felt that way. And it took me forever to tell anyone at all that I had spent that money. Like, basically until I started making that video on YouTube, I think I didn't tell anybody about my experience. And I think a lot of that comes from this idea that when you consider yourself to be a smart, level-headed person who is capable of making good decisions, it becomes really difficult to come to terms with what mental state you must have been in, or what level of desperation or uncertainty you must have been experiencing in order to warrant you making such an irresponsible decision. And I'm not calling the person who submitted this story irresponsible. I'm speaking about my own experience. And this is just a conclusion that I've drawn after, many years of reflecting on my experience with a business coach and why I think things went the way they did. And so it's easy enough for me to just be a talking head here on the internet and say,
if you feel shame around your experience, just don't.
But obviously I empathize and I understand that that's not realistic for most people. You can't just turn it off. But that being said, if you are the person that submitted this story or you're watching this video and you've had a similar experience, I think there is an opportunity for us all to rejoice in the fact that we all know we suffered separately but together at the same time. And while I'm certainly not thankful for the experience of spending thousands of dollars on a person who didn't help me get any further ahead than I would have on my own, and I'm definitely not going to try and toxic positivity, positive mindset my way out of the situation, I think that a temporary lapse of judgment, whether it was a one-time purchase you made, a 6-month commitment you made, or years and years of coaching that you paid for, it's really important to at least recognize the win that comes from having made it out to the other side. So congrats to you if that's the case. You have the opportunity now to reflect on the lessons you've learned and perhaps come to terms with the experience and understand that you're never going to have to go through that again. And I think that that's really huge, honestly. We can take our mistakes and we can carry them forward with us into whatever comes next in our life or in our businesses. And I mean, that's the beauty of this channel, really. It has become sort of this outlet for me to not only be able to share my experiences, but to also, help other people from making the same mistakes that I've made, and also give individuals who have been negatively impacted by this industry the opportunity and the chance to feel seen and to have their story be heard, which, by the way, I have an entire playlist of interviews that I've done here on this channel so far. And so I think this becomes really powerful because perhaps when you made the decision to hire a coach or sign up for a coaching program, you didn't have the understanding and the depth of knowledge to understand that the decision you were making maybe wasn't the best one for you. But now in sharing your story, you have the opportunity to protect someone who now is where you were a few years ago from making those same decisions. And I think that's really great. So if you watch this content, you enjoy it, be sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you're new here, I've been told that this playlist right here is pretty bingeable. But before we sign off here, I actually wanted to take this conversation in the direction of talking about the red flags that are often seen in the industry in hopes that those of you who are watching this video and maybe haven't invested in coaching yet but are considering it can take these into consideration and maybe use them to come to the conclusion about whether or not the investment in coaching is the right choice for you. So we'll start with an Instagram story that I actually posted a couple of days ago, which, by the way, if you aren't following me on Instagram yet, what are you doing? Basically, this started when a follower of mine over on TikTok sent me a message, and the message itself said, "Also, thanks to your content, my business that I opened September 1st has made over $1,000, so thank you for putting yourself out there. You really inspired me to get started." And so when I received that message, I shared it over on Instagram, like I mentioned, and I just added the following. "Consider this proof dispelling the narrative spewed by so many business coaches that claim the only way to make money or be successful in business is to invest in mentorship, aka a backhanded sales pitch for their wildly overpriced programs. This individual used my completely free small business content on TikTok, implemented what they learned, and made $1,000 in the last 3 weeks. There is a time and place for mentorship, sure, but it shouldn't cost you the equivalent of university tuition, a small car, or your entire life savings. Stay safe out there. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk." And so here's the thing. Keep in mind, this is all my opinion based on my own experiences. If someone is trying to convince me that paid mentorship, specifically their paid mentorship, meaning that they sell, a $5,000 group mastermind, they sell a $10,000 one-on-one coaching package, they sell these things, but then they're also saying the only way to build a successful business is to invest in yourself and invest in a coach. That's a hard pass for me. I don't care how much money you are making as an individual. How much money are your clients making? Or at least what results are they getting? Are you able to deliver on the promises that you're making to your clients? Or are you selling them on a dream that, I made X amount of dollars, therefore you can make X amount of dollars? Because the reality is, business is not copy and paste. And one mentor's income does not guarantee that the income of their clients is going to be equivalent. So please do not fall for this. I've said it once and I'll say it again. If a coach is using how much money they've generated as their primary marketing technique or credential as to why you should hire them, run in the opposite direction. Next, I would encourage you to figure out what their actual experience is in the thing that they're trying to teach you and ask or figure out whether or not it truly aligns with the goals and things that you are hoping to accomplish. So I'll give you an example, and I'm going to use myself in this example just because I'm not out here trying to get a defamation lawsuit from anyone. But basically, if you didn't know, I sell an online course. It costs $50 Canadian, and it basically teaches you the fundamental steps it takes to start a business in Canada. When I market this course, I'm not telling you that you're going to build a business and make $10,000. I'm telling you that if you have an idea and you don't know how to turn it into a business, like how to register the business, how to get a business bank account, how to do your bookkeeping, how to market to your first client, that's it. Those are the tangible outcomes. That's the promise that I make to you. I'm not making outlandish claims, and I'm not charging absurd prices, and I'm packaging it into a very simple promise that if you have an idea and you want to know how to turn it into a business, I will teach you how to do that. No income claims necessary. Now, the problem is that so many people who identify as coaches do exactly the opposite of this. They build a business coaching business, having never owned an actual business outside of coaching, simply just through paying a mentor and then copying whatever that coach is doing in their own coaching business. And so you basically end up in this scenario where the mentor that you hired has no business experience themselves and instead is actually copying what the mentor they paid taught them to do. So we have Sarah at the bottom who pays Sally, and Sarah is copying what Sally's doing, but Sally is paying Brittany, and Brittany is copying whoever else is at the top, and then Sally's copying Brittany. So we got Brittany and Sally and Sarah, and everyone's just copying each other, but no one's ever actually owned a business. And then beyond this, because none of these people have ever owned a business outside of like coaches coaching coaches, they don't know any better. They've never owned a real business, so they don't have the understanding or the wherewithal to stop and to pause and to ask themselves like,
hey, wait, is this actually an effective strategy? Does this approach actually work?
Not to mention, at this point, these coaches are also charging like thousands of dollars for this information, which is a rant I've gone on many times and could do an entirely separate video on. A conversation for another day, but I digress. It is a scary world out there, my friend. Please do yourself a favor and do your due diligence when you're looking to hire a coach or a mentor for your business. Pay attention to their marketing tactics, ask them for their experience and proof of that experience. Do not sign up for any free clarity calls because that's just a sales pitch in disguise, complete aside, but I want you to stay protected. And most importantly, always trust your gut instinct. Something that's become really clear to me as I continue to read scam stories like this one, I interview people on my channel, or I take time and comb through forums on Reddit, is that so many people, myself included, who fall prey to these scams tend to have this moment before they invest where they have this hesitation or this desire to like second guess whether or not they're making a right decision. And they always sort of question, I had this feeling that I was making a mistake, but I went for it anyway. And well, I think we all know how that story goes. Easier said than done, I know, but just please trust your gut instincts if you are having hesitations. I've also mentioned this before, but I'm happy to review any person's like Instagram profile or anything like that. If you're thinking of investing in a mentor and you just want to know, like, is this person legit or not? Send me an email, send me a DM on Instagram, and I'm happy to help you out as best I can. I want to give a big shout out to my channel VIP members before we jump off here. You guys are the real MVPs around here. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. If you're interested in joining my membership, you can click the join button down below. Basically, I'm teaching everyone how to become a millionaire. That's a joke if you don't understand sarcasm. Please be sure to give this video a thumbs up on your way out. Subscribe to my channel if you're not already. Take care, comb your hair, and I'll see you in my next video. Goodbye!